Turn down the lights, find your favorite blanket, and welcome to the Library of High Strangeness, presented by Simple SideQuest. Every week in the month of October, we will delve into the world's creepiest true mysteries. So settle in and try not to shiver while I tell you all about haunted libraries. In October, it's not uncommon to hear about haunted houses, cemeteries, even haunted hotels, but libraries, well, you don't tend to hear these stories very often. A library must be a special place or only attract very special ghosts. But here are some of the most haunted libraries in the world. On October 11, 1947, Ruth Cochran, assistant librarian at the Umatilla County Public Library in Pendleton, Oregon, began to feel very unwell as she was closing the building. She went to the basement to rest, but soon became too weak to move or even summon help. The next day, the custodian's wife found her. She had suffered a cerebral hemorrhage and passed away. According to the Pendleton newspaper, ever since, spooky events in the library have been blamed on Ruth's ghost. People often feel uneasy in certain areas of the library. Patrons complain about something in the building that makes people nervous. Once, a custodian was all alone in the building painting the children's room when the intercom system buzzed repeatedly. Could this be the ghost of Ruth still trying to summon help? The Cairo Public Library in Illinois boasts of a ghost that they call Toby. Late at night, in the special collections room on the second floor, workers will hear someone walking around and find that lights that were turned off are now on again. One former librarian saw a ghostly light rise up from behind a desk, pass slowly by her office, and disappear into the book stacks. Another staff member was with her and saw the same thing, and often a rocking chair in the library would make creaking noises by itself, as if someone were rocking in it. Bernardsville Public Library's building at 2 Morristown Road in New Jersey might have the only ghost with her own library card. Back in the 1700s, the library was first built to be a tavern and an inn. The female ghost that now haunts it is said to be that of Phyllis Parker, the innkeeper's daughter, and wife of a doctor who turned out to be a British spy. He was sentenced to death, and as the story goes, she went mad with grief and spent the rest of her life crying for her lost husband. Beginning in 1974, employees started seeing an apparition moving through the front rooms of the library building. Her cries could be heard in part of the building that was once the tavern, which is now the public reading room. The last known Phyllis sighting took place in November 1989, when a 3-year-old boy saw a lady in a long white dress in the reading room and said hello to her. Providing library services since 1885, Willard Library is the oldest public library in Indiana. This historic library, housed in a Victorian Gothic building, is reportedly haunted by the ghost of the Grey Lady. She has been seen in this 140-year-old Victorian Gothic building since 1937. The specter sports a scent of perfume that is often sensed near the elevator, near the restrooms, or in the children's room. Occasionally, staff will walk into cold spots in the library, which are also indicative of this presence. The library director said there have been reports on the second floor of chairs being pulled away from the tables after being pushed in, file boxes jumping 3 feet or more from the shelf as if pushed or thrown. A former custodian also once heard typing coming from a corner of the second floor, but the library was closed. No one was in the corner, and there was no typewriter. The director said there have also been many reports of electrical equipment being disturbed, such as fresh batteries being destroyed or staff members hearing the library's elevator moving between floors with no one in, near, or even on the elevator. Willard Library's Grey Lady may in fact be the world's most famous library ghost. In 1999, the library set up a webcam that sends out live pictures every 30 seconds for the world to see. In the first 2 weeks, the cam captured over 2 million images requested by internet viewers. Since then, the library has added 5 more in different areas where the Gray Lady has been seen. The ghost's most recent visitation in the original building was 2010. The Gray Lady was last seen in person by a staff member in the basement hallway in the exact area of where she was first seen in 1937. One night, a library security alarm summoned police. One officer was stationed outside while the others investigated inside. As the lone officer watched from the parking lot, he spotted a figure in the window, an apparition of a woman with a shadowy figure beside her. When his colleagues emerged, he asked if they had seen them, but they found no trace of anyone inside. The librarian calmly suggested it might have been the ghost. The officer denied it, admitting he'd never heard of the Gray Lady before that night. In Great Britain, the ghost of William Wyndham III, an 18th century scholar, has been observed in the library of his family estate, Felbrigg Hall, for nearly 2 centuries. In November 1972, David Muffin was working at a desk in the library when he noticed a gentleman sitting in the armchair by the fireplace reading books. It was so natural, he thought nothing of it. However, after about 15 seconds, the gentleman put the book down beside him on the table and faded away. Muffin asked the old family butler if the house had any ghosts and was told, "Oh yes, there's the ghost of William Wyndham who sits by the fireplace." For many years, the butler had set out books on the table for the ghost to read. If haunted libraries aren't enough to scare you, what about a library with a deadly curse? The curse of the Peoria Public Library in Illinois has been blamed for the untimely deaths of multiple library directors. The curse was uttered in 1847 by the woman who owned the land where the library now stands. Then in 1915, the library director was killed in a streetcar accident. In 1921, another died from a heart attack after a nasty debate at a library board meeting. And in 1924, the third died by swallowing arsenic. However, 3 seems to be the lucky number that broke the curse. Since the third director's death in 1924, the rest have lived long, fruitful lives. Reddit user Hair Ferret worked in a hospital library. The library was in a converted chapel on the hospital grounds, which had been used as an asylum. The library had open access to doctors 24/7, with the simple rule that the last person to leave the library would turn the lights off to save on the electric bill. One night, the last person to leave was a young doctor. As he looked back to turn the light off, he saw a young lady peering out of one of the windows, just watching him. So he ran back, turned the lights on for her, and shouted, "Sorry." The next morning, the librarians checked the security footage to see who had left the lights on all night. They sent the young doctor a reminder that the last person must shut the lights off, to which he replied, "I was not the last. There was a nurse in there." But according to the footage, no one else was in the library. This happened several times and rumors spread. So when a rather brave young doctor saw the woman in a window, he decided to walk towards her. As he got closer, he clearly saw her expression of great sadness and recognized she was a young nurse dressed in a traditional uniform. As he approached, she turned slowly away, and when he entered the library, he couldn't find the woman anywhere. The library then gained 2 simple rules at night: turn off the lights and don't look back. Now, I could go over all the various ideas of what ghosts are and why they do what they do, but the question I really want to look at today is, why are there so few library hauntings? And what would motivate a ghost to haunt a library? Well, libraries are libraries. Any place that usually holds crowds of people will seem spooky when it's empty, especially libraries because books are naturally sound dampening. So an empty library at night has an unusually quiet quality that only accentuates other noises, like creaking floors, pipes, and the hum of a furnace. Most librarians know this, and so a lot of curious noises will be explained away, even doors opening and closing or books falling off shelves. So maybe there really are more library ghosts, but we rationalize away all the evidence. Also, libraries tend to be a local community center. Where a museum or historical house will bring in tourists and visitors that can make a resident ghost more famous, library hauntings tend to only gain attention from the community that uses the library, and so the stories don't spread as widely. Often we associate a haunting with traumatic events like a tragic death or a bloody battle, but those things don't tend to happen in libraries. So instead of ghosts that are wailing in the halls or pushing people downstairs, spirits connected to libraries are usually a former book-loving patron that didn't finish their to-be-read list, or a librarian that is still making sure the library is running smoothly. For example, one librarian reported that the resident ghost would sometimes correct shelving errors. And not to brag or anything, but librarians are just really chill about it. Unlike the residents of a haunted house, many librarians are not particularly bothered by spirits. They learn to live with their resident scapegoat, tolerating its presence as a normal working condition. And like we've seen, some libraries have even embraced their ghosts by creating ghost-themed events, using it as a marketing tool. Reddit user Dave Bear says this about library ghosts. I've been in many odd places in my life, and some of them had a really bad vibe. But no library I've ever visited or worked in has ever had that same weird, abnormal feeling. And so, if there are haunted libraries, then I would say that those ghosts must be cooler and more even-keeled than their counterparts who haunt old churchyards, cathedrals, and courthouses. To me, libraries are the best place to be, alive or dead. So, if they're here, they're happy and not scary. And I personally have to agree. Whatever ghosts are, we know there is much more in and out of this world left to discover and explore. And the library is one of the best places to do that exploring. So, if my spirit decides to stick around after my body is gone, you'll know where to find me. Much more in and out of this world left to discover and explore. Ooh, put your eyebrows down. Assistant librarian at the Umatilla. She has been seen in this 130-year-old library director Jade. Yep. Hager said there have also been many reports of electrical or staff members hearing the library's elevator moving between. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Oh yes, there's the ghost of William Wyndham. Been blamed for the untimely deaths. Yep. I've been in many odd places in my life, and some of them had really bad vibes. Testing the microphone, test the microphone, test it.